Good morning. Thank you all for coming along this morning. For those of you that don't know me, now I can't see, forget what it's like up here. I'm Nathan Bynes, Executive Director of Data and AI within the Digital Investment Strategy Division, recently renamed, in the Department of Customer Services Open Data Small and Family Business, or CDSB, which I will refer to it from now on as, which is much easier. It's actually nice to be in an event and not be the guy talking about AI. I am your MC today. Would like to start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which this event is taking place in Meanjin, the Turrbal and Yagara people. Would like to pay our respects to elders past, present, and to all the First Nations people in this room and wherever you may be streaming in from today on the live stream. Housekeeping, in the event of an alarm, there are emergency exits on my right and at the rear of the auditorium. Assembly area is in the grassed area in front of the art gallery. And bathrooms out this door directly across the hallway. So, look, hope you've had your coffee, you've had a time to chat. It's actually much cooler in here than it is outside, so it's a nice respite to get in here. We're really excited for the first PiT of 2026. It's a great attendance. I don't know how many we've got online, but it was sold out. We've got a few initiatives, and today we're going to have our speakers take us through to around about 9:20, followed by a Q&A. Please take notes, ask any questions you want. Raise your hand anytime I'm up here, and I'll take questions as well. And then we'll head next door, as we normally do, for morning tea and networking for those of you that can hang around. So I won't take up any more of your time. Our first presenter today is Mary Jane Phillips. Mary Jane is a Manager of Information Security Governance and Risk at Queensland Treasury Information Services. Mary Jane is an established specialist in cybersecurity risk and management systems with over 10 years' experience safeguarding critical infrastructure across financial and government sectors. At Queensland Treasury, Mary Jane has played a key role in establishing and operationalising a third-party cybersecurity management program, enabling the effective identification and mitigation of vulnerabilities in complex supply chains. That was a mouthful. Mary Jane is passionate about cultivating a safe and secure digital economy for both Queensland and Australia, and she will outline for us today actionable strategies for identifying and monitoring risks in alignment with the recommendations from the ASD, Australian Signals Directorate. So, Mary Jane, please come to the stage.
Good morning. My hope for today is that each and every one of you leaves here more motivated to find out about your own external security posture and that of your entire supply chain. Picture this. One morning last year, a major global manufacturer woke up to find its entire production line frozen. Hackers had compromised a key software provider in its supply chain. Systems went dark, shipments stopped, and the ripple effects cost billions and affected thousands of downstream businesses. This is not fiction. It happened last year at Jaguar Land Rover. This is the new reality of cybersecurity and supply chains. The attack does not have to hit you directly to devastate your operations. Another example, last year in June, executives at Qantas learned that hackers had accessed the details of up to 6 million customers, not from their own core systems, but from a third-party customer service platform used by an offshore call centre. Names, emails, phone numbers, dates of birth, and frequent flyer information. It was not a direct strike on Qantas, it was a classic supply chain attack exploiting a vendor in their digital ecosystem. The data later appeared on the dark web, triggering widespread concern. Supply chain incidents are becoming more about service availability risk and business continuity risk as much as it is about data confidentiality. Data breach, we do have a lot of data on data breaches though, so they're easy to measure. 30% of data breaches now involve third parties, according to a recent report from Verizon. And that figure has doubled in recent years. Now, IBM's latest cost of a data breach report pegs the average supply chain related compromise at around $7 million Australian, but that cost varies dramatically. The Qantas third-party breach, for example, has been estimated at a cyber value at risk of $230 million, which includes notifications for people impacted, ID monitoring, legal costs, potential penalties still in play, security upgrades and reputation loss. The Jaguar Land Rover incident caused a 6-week shutdown. And they reported $340 million in direct costs over the first 2 quarters. The wider economic cost for the UK is estimated to be $2.5 billion. So commentators are now starting to talk about the risk of economic shock of supply chain incidents. Cyber incidents and data breaches can, sadly, cause direct or indirect harm to individuals. Breaches of personal information are combined and can lead to serious privacy violations, potentially even physical harm for vulnerable people, emotional distress, scams, and financial devastation in some cases. And ID Care supported over 100,000 Australians experiencing this sort of material harm from online cybercrimes and related deceptions in a 12-month period. As partners in technology, with a shared responsibility, we have an obligation and an opportunity to reduce the likelihood of breaches in our supply chain and minimise the impact when they do occur. So, how do we go about this? One key principle drives our entire approach to this. A robust external cybersecurity posture significantly reduces the likelihood of an incident or breach. And this correlation is backed by multiple large-scale studies in academia and the insurance sector. The pattern holds true regardless of vendor type or industry. And it's common sense as well. Like, adversaries invariably seek the path of least resistance. So by maintaining a consistently strong security posture across the extended supply chain, we deliberately become a less attractive target and lower our risk of incident and breach. And something I just read yesterday, the Palo Alto has a new report out. 90% of cyber incidents can be avoided through cyber hygiene, configuration, that sort of thing. Historically, we relied on annual questionnaires and point-in-time assessments for third-party risk management. And I'm sure a lot of you have filled some of those out multiple times. They do provide us with a useful indicator of cybersecurity posture and maturity, but they do come with serious limitations. These methods are resource heavy, they often yield subjective or inconsistent results, and they prioritise compliance over actual risk exposure. But most critically, they're far too infrequent for today's fast-moving threat landscape. A yearly assessment simply cannot keep pace with adversaries who are exploiting vulnerabilities in around 72 hours. This is precisely where continuous monitoring proves essential. Rather than relying on static snapshots, it delivers dynamic, objective, real-time visibility into third-party posture, which correlates with incident risk. It scales effortlessly, it fosters better collaboration, and it enables precise, targeted improvements where and when it matters the most. So think of it like maintaining your car. The annual service is valuable and important, but you wouldn't drive around for 12 months with the oil or engine temperature light on. Continuous monitoring provides exactly that, an always-on dashboard giving near real-time oversight across hundreds or potentially thousands of vendors. Treasury started our journey in 2023 with a gap analysis which identified the need to uplift in this area. In 2024, we set our strategy to strengthen third-party management. We did our research, and then in 2025 we went through an open market process and we implemented the PiT platform and incorporated that into our governance and risk processes. This year we're expanding the coverage, we're onboarding more vendors, we're embedding the platform more deeply across business units, and we're going to strengthen collaboration with our partners and vendors to drive mutual improvements. And looking further than that, we'll build on this foundation through sustained collaboration, data-driven insights, and targeted initiatives that deliver measurable reductions in third-party risk. This is a little extract from our main dashboard. We can clearly and easily and quickly see the average posture of our tier 1, 2 and 3 vendors and where we need to focus our efforts. This is an extract of our company list page, and from here we can seamlessly drill down to any individual vendor. We can quickly find all the vendors that use a particular software, for example, or have infrastructure in a certain country, as another example, and we can group all the, or tag all the vendors with whatever we like, so business units, or a certain category of vendor, for example. Reports are very easy to produce and automate. We share a monthly list with our Information Security Working Group, and that works very well. Members of that group come from all across Queensland Treasury. At the company level, we can understand the external security strengths and weaknesses and a change in posture over time. And this supports meaningful conversations and prioritisation. And again, it's clear and simple to understand. Basic posture is red, intermediate is yellow, and advanced is green. Even though it's simple, there's a lot of data underneath that. The platform continuously monitors our third party's external attack surface, tracking key risk vectors such as open ports, patching cadence, email security, critical external vulnerabilities, and known incidents. In a separate but linked module, we have access to a large intelligence feed from the clear, deep, and dark web, and we can do further investigation into the volume of credentials for sale, for example. This also is an important part of our incident response procedures. As part of our licensing arrangement with PiT, Queensland Treasury can give access to our third parties to access their own external security posture and see their own risk-ranked list of findings. It's nice and clear to pick up and understand straight away. You can see how your score is derived. You can see how you can get more points by addressing the top security findings. Our experience has been that when we share this information with security teams and IT teams, it leads to an immediate uplift in posture. Businesses are motivated to reach that advanced posture and lower their risk of incident. So it's a win for them and it's a win for Treasury. A very powerful part of the platform is the emerging security events. We monitor these daily, and from time to time in cybersecurity, we have big global events, so vulnerabilities that are highly critical, very easy to exploit, and we need to move quickly. We can look at a particular vulnerability, see how many companies are exposed, and when we click View Vulnerability, we can see who those 7 organisations are. If you are one of those partners or vendors, and if you have already connected to our platform, we can then click View Vulnerability and send you an alert to prompt for remediation of that specific vulnerability. Now, at this point, if our suppliers patch or mitigate faster than they otherwise would have, we are actively reducing the risk, or sorry, the likelihood of an incident and potential impact on Queensland. So Queensland Treasury's long-term direction is clear. We want to continue to collaborate and systematically reduce supply chain risk with our technology partners. We want to see many more of our third parties moving from that intermediate to an advanced posture. By doing this, we build trust in government services, trust in the systems on which we rely every day, and trust that we're doing the right thing to protect Queenslanders. By shifting from a compliance mindset to a risk-focused, evidence-based approach, we're no longer simply collecting attestations and approvals and filing them away. We're actively managing risk in real time, using objective data to inform decisions and prioritise what matters to reduce the risk of an incident. And this approach recognises an important truth. Cybersecurity is not owned by one team or one function or even one organisation. It's a shared responsibility for technology partners. When we share, collaborate, and focus on a targeted uplift, we strengthen the supply chain for everyone. We move from passive assurance to active governance, from reactive response to prevention of incidents. And that's how we protect services and maintain public trust, not just today, but over the long term. Thank you very much for the invitation today. You're very welcome to reach out to me to continue the conversation and find out more about Treasury's approach. And if you're a partner or third party of Queensland Treasury, we would very much love to see you and set up your access to PiT site to your own posture so that you can see how your own posture looks on the system. Let's work together to be very unattractive targets to our adversaries. Thank you very much.
Your first unattractive target on stage now. Thank you very much, Mary Jane. That was really wonderful. I know these are for industry, but as a public servant, I get so much value out of seeing what's happening in Queensland Government. And I don't know about you guys, but I want one of them, please. That'd be really good. We'll move on to our next presenter, Duncan McKellar. So Duncan is the Acting Assistant Director General, Digital Innovation Division within the Department of Education. Among many other responsibilities, Duncan leads the department's Generative AI Adoption Program. The program includes the statewide deployment of Corella, a Gen AI application grounded in the Australian curriculum for use by educators and students in Queensland state schools, which our team have been fortunate enough to partner with Duncan on as well and to be part of that journey. DOE is seeking to partner with industry to develop a series of generative AI-based products. In doing that, Duncan's team are exploring solutions to allow domain experts across government agencies and educational jurisdictions to collaborate on evaluation and establishing benchmarks for generative AI products as they emerge and evolve. Duncan feels that having a practical understanding of how to build, deploy and manage Gen AI solutions is part of the learning curve to becoming an informed purchaser or collaborator in the future. and may also provide an opportunity for quick wins and demonstrable benefits for the department. And personally, some of the work that Duncan's doing, I think it's great to see departments with the resources and the willingness to really lead in this space and build capability that we can share across Queensland Government. So please come to the stage, Duncan.
Thanks, Nathan. I think half of my presentation has just been done by you, so I'll be fairly quick. I'd like to start by just a quick apology. Before you all arrived here, I judged you very harshly. I thought I'd be coming here today and seeing a room full of people in suits. So I'm really pleased to see that people have embraced the Queensland summer. And after all, we're here to talk about AI, and this is the cool and fun stuff, right? Not that cybersecurity is not cool and fun as well, I'm sure. I did think about wearing a suit just to prove to McKellar that I own one. But if I did wear a suit, then the people who met me wouldn't recognise me, and the people who meet me in the future wouldn't remember me. So you get to see the real Duncan today. As Nathan said, I'm a leader in the Digital Innovation Division and am leading the department's adoption of generative AI. I'd like to share with you some of the things we expect to encounter in the next stage of our journey, and maybe get some insights from you in the future about how you might be able to help us on that journey. So a little bit about where we are in our journey. Thanks to the great work done by and the leadership of Customer Services, Open Data, Small and Family Business, affectionately known as CDSB, we had the opportunity to engage with the QChat product very early on in our journey. QChat's been really important for us. I expect it's the same for other people in government, because it created a place that our leaders who know nothing about AI could be confident that there was a safe and secure place where people could engage with it and start to learn about it and find out what the potential value was for our organisation. Followed fairly quickly then when we reached out to Nathan's team and said, we're really interested in understanding how this could work for teachers, but also work for students in a classroom situation. And so we partnered around the development of Corella, which is still being rolled out. It's an AI chat agent grounded in the Australian curriculum, which has both a teacher and a student mode. So different parameters for the different use cases. Those two products sort of gave us a lot of coverage over our organisation in terms of people getting their feet wet in the AI space. And so it gave us that the foundation of training and guidelines so that we could be confident that our curious people could use these tools and use them with a level of safety. It also made us a little bit tolerant of the adoption of AI into existing products. So one of the challenges that we have is the AI that's rapidly being incorporated into products. Some of them we have some control over, some of them we didn't ask for, some of them we didn't think we needed, but it got given to us anyway. So our ability to manage that is really important in our foundational stage. The cornerstone of our responsible use approach at the moment is human in the loop. So that works really well for us while people are in the early stages of their adoption. They're using these tools in areas that they are experts in, and so the human in the loop works really well when you've got someone who can judge the output of the model or of the agent with a level of expertise. The teaching use case is the perfect one. They're using it to develop lesson plans and differentiated learning materials in an area that they're expert in, so that's great for us. As we see more adoption, the things we're on the lookout for is as people become more trusting of AI and they stop applying that critical lens because it's worked so well in the past, why wouldn't it keep working so well in the future? There's also the risk that we perceive around as people start stretching out and finding AI tools to do other things that they're not so expert in and not being aware of whether or not there are other controls that they need to put into place. So it starts to become a little bit less effective for us in that regard. It's also not hitting the mark for us in terms of the emerging assurance frameworks that are in place for AI. It's all very well to have the human in the loop, but when we start seeing things like reliability, explainability, contestability and accountability as features that we need to have in our processes, in our responsible use framework, we can't push that all onto a teacher. There's going to have to be a way that we start to look at how do we do more than have a human in the loop and make sure that we can offer a reliable service that's been well operationalised for our end users. So basically, it's insufficient for us at the moment to do what we're doing and to scale and adopt sustainably. We can't just go out and buy products and give it to end users and say, go for your life. So we wanted to ask ourselves, how do we go from being a passive consumer to an informed purchaser, or indeed eventually becoming an active collaborator in being able to explain in your terms the types of things that we're looking for when you're developing or deploying products for us. So we're looking for a way that we can effectively shrink the black box that is AI, so that our end users can use it with confidence and to know that there's someone else looking over their shoulder. The two core challenges for us are around evaluation observation capabilities and also distributed domain expertise. Basically, we want to understand how do we put humans on the loop as well as have humans in the loop. Now, I'm not going to stand here and try and tell you what evaluation and observation is about. You're the experts in that stuff, but obviously there's some examples there of things that we're interested in that we think are a necessary capability for us to build in our organisation. What I would say is the big challenge there is the size and scope of our organisation. Has anyone ever had to manage an intranet full of corporate knowledge that people needed to use every day to do their jobs? There's a few people. Has anyone ever had to wrangle the content experts to keep that content up to date and to make sure it is timely and relevant to the things that the customer needs at that particular point in time? It's a hard job. And we perceive that as we start to move into content-grounded AI, we're going to see that job amplified, that problem amplified, as we start to do content management 100-fold or 1,000-fold every single day. So these things are important to us, and understanding how we do that in a way that is going to scale across our organisation and our content experts is a really important part of that. As a large organisation, our expertise tends to be very deep, but very narrow. And so we will be working across both IT and our subject matter experts in order to work out how do we keep the AI honest and how do we keep it on track. So they're the things that we're interested in trying to understand how we do. So the concept that I'm pitching is proof of capability. I asked Google Gemini whether there's any such thing as a proof of capability, and it said no. But I must be a brilliant and forward-thinking digital leader to have come up with such an idea, and you're going to love it. So I'm sticking with it. I'm running with it. Proof of capability. So our proposition is that we want to learn by doing, and we want to do that with you. We want you to do it with us, not for us or to us. This is an important part of us becoming a mature integrator and deployer of these tools. Buy before build is all very well, but the reality is there's no software that we ever buy that we don't have to build an integration to single sign-on, or build an integration to the SIEM, or build an integration to our enterprise data platform or our master data. Everything we buy still needs to be at some point built into an environment. And one of the things we want to do is to start creating that framework that we can reuse over and over at the same time as buying those individual solutions from the market around AI. We don't want to compete with a $1 trillion industry building AI, but we do have to build out some of these capabilities for ourselves. We have to do it across our cross-functional teams. This isn't just about my product team. This is very foreign to us, and the fear and uncertainty and doubt that will be experienced across our people, our architects, our security people, our platform ops people, they will all be uncertain about what's happening, and we need to lift their capability at the same time as I need to lift the capability of my product teams in terms of how we will adopt AI in a safe and responsible way. So part of that process is to crawl before we walk and walk before we run. We're looking for an opportunity to identify use cases that are specifically designed for learning and building out our capability. So it's very tantalising to see those really high value propositions that we could be using AI for, but if we don't have the maturity to integrate them and deploy them responsibly, then we've got nothing. And so the idea is that we're going to choose things that help us build the capability incrementally, do it so that it's low risk, so that we can have the right size governance, rather than going for broke to start with. So it's an important part of us to make sure that we do that. And it also allows us in that process to slowly bring in the subject matter experts that are distributed across the organisation. We need our organisation to understand this is not just about an IT operating model. This is going to be an organisational operating model change. This is going to change the way that our policy people and our advisors engage with their customers and deliver content straight out to the people who are in schools at the coalface. So we need your help to map this out. We need to understand what minimum viable capability looks like at each stage, and make sure that it's commensurate with risk and complexity. Each iteration is needing to be reused and builds on the capability achieved in the last one. So what might that look like? Well, just reiterating, it's incremental, structured for learning and embedding good practices. Yes, we want to deliver value as we go. We need to show the organisation that there's value in this investment, and we need to show the SMEs, the subject matter experts we're bringing along, that they're seeing value as well in terms of how it's improving the way that their work is happening, as well as how they're engaging with their customers. So we're not trying to architect for 10 years from now. We're not trying to secure for advanced agentic orchestration. These things are incredible and amazing, but we need to, as I say, crawl before we can walk and run. And we don't know what the AI world's going to look like tomorrow. Maybe next week, AI agents will be talking to each other on their own private social media channel. Who knows? In this process, we expect we need to tolerate some diversity and potential for rework. We will know that we need to sometimes look back and rationalise and consolidate. So we need to give ourselves time to do that. The goal is still to pick the right tools for the learning that we want to do now, and recognising that it doesn't need to be strategically or architecturally best practice, best of breed, or perfect for where we'll be in 5 or 10 years' time. It's the right tools to get the learning done. We also know that we'll need varying levels of engagement at different stages. That learning by doing, lots of hands-on. I'd love to see people sitting next to each other, your people sitting next to my people, actually doing stuff. But then there's time for you to step back and for us to practice. Maybe implement a couple of proof of capability activities and then rinse and repeat, with someone looking over our shoulder as a critical friend or a coach, rather than being in there for the whole process. Sometimes pausing while we roll that stuff out or rationalise and consolidate along that journey. So they're the things that are important for us in terms of this. And most important at all, I guess, at the end is, at the end of each stage, to assess our progress, help us understand the areas for improvement that we need to build into the next iteration, and proving our capability. We want to be able to say to you, when we engage you, here's what we look like now. We're not pretending this actually is our current capability. Don't try and stretch us too far. We're happy to come along on a journey, but this is realistically where we are. And if you want to engage with us, you'd need to know what you're in for. So that's an important part. So look, that's what we think the process could look like. Really, the whole idea behind this briefing is for us to say to you, we need your input into that. What are the types of things that it looks like on a maturity journey for embedding this sort of capability in an organisation? How do we structure that so we can get those short-term small wins along the way, but slowly build into something really productive? So thanks for that. I'm sure you'll have lots of questions for me either today or in the future when we meet. I appreciate you having me here.
Thank you, Duncan. Your comment around the content management, it made me reflect on it. I remember when a SharePoint manager was a job that was taken quite seriously, and then they all kind of disappeared, and now information management with the introduction of generative AI, has become front and centre again, and it will continue to be. I think you guys can all probably see why I'm really excited about the work Duncan's doing, because that's not just applicable to the Department of Education, it's applicable right across government. We're in a situation now where there's a plethora of products and tools and services coming out that we need to be in a position, and this sort of work will help us to be in a position to be better buyers and to be more confident in adopting the services that you guys can offer. And I'll be personally watching very closely the work that Duncan's doing. Our teams work very closely together already, and looking to understand, well, how does that sort of approach play out across government? So again, we're looking to the people in the room to help us do that. Again, thank you, Duncan. Our third presenter of the day, Guillaume. Guy is the Executive Director of Cyber Resilience in CDSB, and he is used to me butchering his name. I apologise once more. I'm a typical Aussie. Everything gets that Aussie drawl. Guy is a cybersecurity executive and business leader with a passion for technology, cybersecurity, privacy, governance, and business. Guy drives statewide initiatives in his role to uplift cybersecurity resilience across government entities and provides strategic leadership and expert advice to support Queensland's cybersecurity strategy and digital transformation. Prior to his public sector role, Guy has held leadership positions in technology, cybersecurity and advisory firms. And he's also one of the happiest guys I know, I reckon, in our department. He's always got a smile, it's fantastic. And this morning, Guy will be covering the current cyber threat landscape and Queensland's cybersecurity strategy. Please come to the stage.
Thanks, Nathan. Good morning, partners, and thank you for having me. Really appreciate the effort in pronouncing my name. Guillaume Noé. I'm an Executive Director in Data and Digital Government in CDSB. Some of you may know me from the private sector in past life, but today I really have the pleasure and the privilege to be a Queensland public servant and a leader in our state central cybersecurity unit. If you don't know us, we are a group of excited and passionate people and very happy because cyber is cool. And we really make it our mission to better protect the state against cyber threats. Today, I'll provide an overview, and a rather brief overview, of our recently published and inaugural cyber strategy. Now, before I do so, some of you may have detected a subtle, very far north Queensland accent in me. Very subtle. I'll clarify, I will not be talking about the French National Cybersecurity Strategy that was released just a few days ago and also happens to be a good read, especially if you are into sovereign plays. I'll be talking about the Queensland one. It was really critical and very important for government to develop in collaboration, in consultation, the strategy and to publish it transparently. And it's equally important to promote it as we are doing today. We simply must acknowledge the seriousness of the cyber threat landscape and the rapid evolution, the way it is changing. We must acknowledge the risks facing Queenslanders, their data, and the government services that they rely on. We are clearly prioritizing building a resilient, secure, and trusted government, and we are clearly prioritizing protecting Queenslanders. I suggest the strategy should also be relevant to you as good partners, for government. You may find it insightful on our collective priorities, and I hope you take those ways to better engage with government, whether centrally or with individual entities. Now, our assessment of the cyber threat landscape is first obviously informed by our own internal reports in the incidents we face and our own threat intelligence in our own environment. There's more to that. We obviously get some intelligence on the broader Queensland ecosystem, and that includes the private sector. We get some fantastic insight from our federal government partners, and we get insight on the broader national and international state of play in cybersecurity. I will not surprise you to share with you that we assess the threat landscape to not be good at all. It's very serious, and it's not getting any better. Mary Jane shared with us some insight already on the state of play. I can add a few elements to it as well. The Australian Cybersecurity Centre receives an average of 116 calls per day, an increase of 16% year on year. One cybercrime report is submitted every 6 minutes. The impact of cybercrime on individuals is increasing to an average of $33,000, up 8%. The impact on businesses jumped by a whopping 50% to an approximate figure of $80,000 per incident. Publicly reported common vulnerabilities and exposures also increased by 28%. And we also know that vulnerabilities are exploited quicker than ever, with time to exploit statistics plummeting, clearly stressing organizations' risk management processes, say patching, for example. Very concerning, critical infrastructure are impacted. Organizations are also more and more indirectly impacted or compromised through their supply chain. Threat actors are making good of AI. Unfortunately, they are capitalizing on emerging technologies. They improve, scale, and amplify their attacks with artificial intelligence. Last year, the World Economic Forum reported more than 50% of organizations have a clear concern about the advancement of adversarial advancement in AI. Post-quantum cryptography also poses a critical risk to data protection. Data that is encrypted with today's algorithms can be harvested, stored, and decrypted later. So our response, the government's response to the threat landscape and to sustaining the protection, resilience, and trust in government services is outlined in the strategy. I suggest our vision is very clear. It's about building a resilient Queensland Government to deliver trusted services for Queenslanders. And we've itemized 3 key priorities or 3 key bodies of work, with resilience, workforce, and governance. With resilience, our focus is on building and promoting ongoing resilience in government service delivery, strengthening our ability to absorb, adapt, and respond to the changing threat landscape. For workforce, our focus is on uplifting government awareness and strengthening the cybersecurity workforce through talent development. For governance, this is all about establishing and maintaining central expectations for governance and providing clear directions through strategy, policy, culture, and metrics and effective assurance. Those 3 priorities are supported with 15 objectives and 28 key actions. So I'll refer to some of those actions now. I will not go through all of them in details. I may simply suggest some areas of highlight for what I suggest is most relevant. Resilience, for me, is about rolling with the cyber punches. It's about building and preparing to withstand or resist disruption and to respond effectively and adapt to the cyber threat landscape. So to deliver on our resilience objectives, we have 10 key activities. First, as commercial partners in the room, I suspect your eye may be attracted to the reference to budgets. Budgets are obviously very important to fund and sustain resilience initiatives. So first, we've got a cybersecurity fund, a $50 million allocation stemming from the Queensland Budget Paper 24-25. It's used in 2 ways. First, there is a grant system. Agencies can make a bid for funding. It goes through an assessment process. They get provided with the funding, and they lead themselves the delivery of uplift projects. Second, we also run a central cyber uplift program that delivers targeted uplifts. We provide technical SME, project management, organizational change management expertise. We source that capability from our team, but we expand our capacity and capability in partnership with industry as well. The $1 billion digital fund is also mentioned in the context of embedding consistent, secure by design principles in the broader digital initiatives that are funded. Key activities for resilience include building further incident response readiness with preparations and exercises, expanding and targeting the delivery of common cyber services, simplifying the procurement I thought you would like that one too, for cyber solutions and services. Building an economy of scale, addressing supply chain risks, very important, and thanks Mary-Jane for the details of what Treasury is doing in that space before. Adopting new technologies and approaches, we can use AI as well. Providing education services to small and family businesses, and last but not least, I will highlight a deliberate drive to support local cyber businesses. We believe that we are safer with a stronger local cybersecurity business ecosystem. Workforce is obviously at the cornerstone of the strategy because cybersecurity is first a people challenge at the end of the day. We need to have the right skills in the right places with the right support to stay ahead of the threats and simply to better manage our risks internally. I will first highlight our cyber workforce strategic plan. Now, unfortunately, and I apologize for that, the document is not public. It is a Queensland Government only document, but I can share with you that our vision is to building an effective cyber workforce within government prepared for the threats and opportunities faced by Queenslanders. And it has 3 key priorities on its own. The first one is retrain and retain. The second is about enhancing capacity. And the third one is nurturing capability. We clearly focus on further developing guidance framework. We are looking at advisory support and further services to enable agencies further developing and evolving cyber skills or competency within their own workforce. Cyber qualifications are important for public servants. You may know we fund the Certificate 4 with TAFE, fantastic program. But we also invest in industry cybersecurity qualifications for public servant. Last but certainly not least, we are expanding and further improving the cybersecurity awareness for the entire public servant workforce, not only those focusing on cybersecurity. So we talked about resilience in workforce, and we'll finish with governance. And to me, this is really a critical one. In risk management more broadly, and certainly in cybersecurity, and that's clearly my experience, governance is risk. It's the case because it's, at the end of the day, governance that drives whether resilience projects, initiatives, uplift get funded and resourced, or whether workforce initiative gets sustained, and whether us all together as a Queensland Government ecosystem, we move in the same and in the right direction. So first, we have a focus on increasing the effectiveness of cyber risk management with relevant data, relevant insight. That includes cyber threat intelligence data, better visibilities of vulnerabilities, risks, and actual incidents in the first place. That's really very important for us. Part of what we do in that space, amongst other things, include publishing a quarterly whole of government cyber threat intelligence executive report. We also publish annual reports, aggregated reports on our information security and cyber assurance program. Some of you may know as the IS-18 policy. We publish annual reports on our cyber exercise program, observation, reflections, recommendation on our readiness to deal with consequential cybersecurity incidents. And it includes further developing acquisition and presentation of tactical insight in cybersecurity, such as vulnerability management data. And the next one is quite a big transformation for us. We are planning on expanding the scope of the cybersecurity assurance program to a broader range of government entities. So those of you who specialize in cyber would know IS-18. Today, all state departments and relatively a small number of statutory bodies make an IS-18 annual return. They share centrally key data on their cybersecurity maturity. And it is very good for us to appreciate maturity of information security management system, maturity against the Essential 8, maturity against mandated Queensland Government cybersecurity standards. But it is still limited. So we have a key play in having more Queensland public sector entities folding into the same assurance project. It will provide us better insight on the broader state of maturity in cybersecurity across the sector. And I suggest that item could be very relevant to some of you who provide governance, risk and compliance services across the sector. Collaboration is obviously a big focus for us. We are further fostering collaboration within the sector in Queensland Government with other jurisdictions, and I can certainly attest of very good relationships with other states, with federal government partners, and obviously with industry. Now, in closing, your partnership makes Queensland cyber resilience stronger. I know our strategy is ambitious, and we cannot deliver it alone. We need you, our technology partners, working alongside us. We need your expertise, your ideas, your skills, your innovation, and your commitment to security so that we can better protect Queenslanders and the services they depend on. So I'd like to encourage all of you to engage with the strategy, align your work with government, your approach to government on these priorities, and help us build that resilient, secure, and trusted Queensland we are all working toward. Thank you for your time today, and thank you for your partnership.
Thank you, Guy. When Mary Jane and Guy, when I have people like that present as a public servant, it makes me quite proud that we've got some of the best people protecting our state. Very knowledgeable, capable people, happy people. I mean, after that first slide and some of those statistics, I thought two things. First, it made me a little anxious when you think about what's out there, and secondly, I thought, and Guy's still happy. Yeah, it's amazing. I also got a little bit jealous when you started talking about budget, and I thought, how easy are these budget pitches, right? Just roll that slide out to Treasury. But thank you very much. We really appreciate the time. And now we would like to ask our esteemed panel members, Mary Jane, Duncan and Guy, up here to give you guys the opportunity to ask some questions. Oh, that's for later. Hey, we have Matthew Rose and Samantha Rose on the mics to clear up any doubt when you hear Matthew talk about Samantha as the boss. It's not because they're married. They're in fact not related. Samantha has joined us as Director of ICT Category Management. So thank you recently.
Hello? Oh, hi. Someone has to be. My name's Carol Ferras. I'm an ICT expert in recruitment. So I've been recruiting ICT professionals here in Brisbane for the past 10 years. My question for you guys is how can we, as ICT recruiters, support all of these projects, and what sort of people do you think you're going to need in the next 6 to 12 months to deliver all of these projects and initiatives that the government is doing? Thank you.
Good question. As I mentioned earlier, we need the right skills in the right places. We are always on the hunt for talent in cybersecurity. It's important for us as well, perhaps as a suggested first part of my answer, to look at new professionals coming from university, also people who want a bit of a change of profession, to have an opportunity to get into the world of cybersecurity. And really, an ecosystem like Queensland Government, in my opinion, provides a tremendous playground, essentially. There is so much to look at in terms of metrics, in terms of challenges, and really opportunity to make a difference. I may add, perhaps on the other side, and I refer to emerging technologies also in my presentation, people who can bring some cyber AI skills are very important for us, so we can perhaps fight AI with AI and really help us drive innovation. At the end of the day, in the world of cybersecurity and risk management, we are looking for curious people who are problem solvers, who embrace innovation, embrace challenges and teamwork to do something fantastic for us, which is to better protect the state against cyber threats.
Thank you. I was remiss in not mentioning those online can submit their questions via the stream chat window, and we might just go to the first one there. So from Gary, are there any controls that you want to implement that BIT site can't do yet? So that would be for Mary Jane.
I think more integration with the dark web intelligence is on the roadmap, and that's so to be able to see, you know, how exposed a third party is on the dark web. That would be what we'd be looking for, because at the moment it still takes an analyst to look for that.
Question down the front. Let's make sure the next one's right up the back.
Question for Mary Jane. I think you were mentioning the supply chain, how you're ensuring security or trying to help with security in the supply chain. Are you requiring your suppliers to meet any particular security standards in order to supply to you?
We do with our critical vendors. We want our critical vendors to have an advanced security posture, most definitely. In terms of other cut-off points, we haven't set them in stone yet. Of course, we still require all our third parties to meet the IS 18 requirements, which is Essential 8 and that sort of thing. But the platform itself, if we're just looking at the security score, we obviously want to make sure vendors are as high as possible. But no, we haven't set required bands or scores at this point. It's a case-by-case basis. It depends on how critical that vendor is to the business, what sort of information we share with that vendor, and the potential business continuity impacts.
Thank you. Okay, we've got a question from the screen. I'm just moving a bit closer so I can see. This one's for Duncan from William Marr. Can you please elaborate on what type of tech partners and services or skills the department will need and how it will engage with industry on the needs you laid out?
I was hoping you'd answer that question for me. Look, we're interested in people who probably come from a testing and monitoring background. The idea of evaluation observation is very important for us, but particularly understanding how we move away from the more deterministic sort of application testing mode into that continuous monitoring mode. So it may be organisations that have experience in doing monitoring across infrastructure platforms or cybersecurity monitoring or those types of things. I think we're all finding our way in terms of the types of technologies and the types of people that need to come together to work out how to make sure we can keep these things on track and on target. So happy to engage in all sorts. As I said, this is an organisational change for us. Lots of change in terms of our operating model, so we need to bring a whole group of people along who are content experts but maybe have this idea that this is an IT problem and we need to help them understand that. So there will be change in that process as well. So there's room in here for a lot of people with a lot of different skills. Our job is to understand what's the right set of skills for whatever our next iteration is, and that's where we're looking to get advice about people who've been on this journey and the types of things that are easy and the types of things that are maybe a little bit too hard and a little bit too ambitious too soon in our journey.
Thank you, Duncan. I think we have our last question now up the back of the room.
Yeah, team. We've talked a little bit about risk. We talked about ICT risk, but more broadly, organisational risk. Mary Jane, you showcased what you're doing in at Treasury. Acquired risk. We're going to be building more and buying more as a state over the next 6 years in this green and gold runway to 2032. We're going to build more roads, more this, more that. We've got more suppliers, more construction. We're going to have more digital systems built that aren't controlled by government, that are controlled by the suppliers. What are we going to do to go beyond the third party risk and look at the nth party risk and look at the acquired risk? We're buying electric vehicles, we're buying drones, we're buying all of these things that can be weaponised for mass disruption. What are we doing around the acquired risk? Sorry to doomsday us all.
No, that's a very good question. BitSite goes part of the way to solving that, in that we can see what our third parties are using in terms of software that's external facing. So we can actually see our fourth party risk and see our exposure to different organisations. So for example, DeepSeek and TikTok are prohibited applications in the Queensland Government. We can see of our third parties who has IT connections to those organisations and work out what we need to do about that risk. So it's part of the solution.
If I may just add a little bit to that, you made a very good point. The attack surface keeps increasing. Key events such as the Olympics coming, just further highlight essentially the need. The first answer I may suggest to your question is a threat and risk assessment and gathering all possible insight we have from third parties and the broader ecosystem just to get a clearer picture as to what are the real threats and risks that we face so we can plan accordingly. And that relates to the strategy as well, to get better insight on the state of play of maturity and the threats in the sector. There is also, I suggest, an opportunity for people in the room, organizations that have, a relevant threat intel or input or reports to share with us, just to raise your hand and just share that with us. We would be delighted to further engage and get your thoughts on the subject as well.
Thank you, Guy, Mary Jane, and Duncan. Can we please give them a round of applause? All right, so before we move on today, we'd like to remind you about the Government vs ICT Trivia Night. It is that time of year again. This one will be at the Intercontinental Hotel on Elizabeth Street on the 18th of March. It's a fun night. I've seen many of the faces in this room there in previous years, and also raises vital funds for TAFE Queensland Foundation, helping deserving students achieve their dreams. So if you have not done so already, please register. It will be a fantastic night, as it always is. So thank you again, Mary Jane, Duncan and Guy, for your presentations. For those of you in the room and online, you'll receive a survey about today's content. Please, I know the team do value your feedback to help make sure that these are engaging and useful to you as industry. That's the whole point of this. We're coming here to try and make this a useful time for you. Any inquiries, please go to the Business Queensland website or directly to the PiT team. I think everyone knows Matthew, so I think he's going to be one of the most well. Oh, was that a round of applause coming? Was it? The presentations, as usual, have been recorded, will appear on the Business Queensland website very shortly. Thank you to Matthew, Samantha, the team and the supporting staff, and to the State Library of Queensland and the catering team at FAB. And finally, personally, thank you to everyone who attended. It's great to see this turnout and those online. I hope you found it informative, and please join us afterwards for some networking. Thank you.